Hello everyone, in this video we're going to talk a little bit about editing content in Premiere Pro, but before we get in, I want to talk a little bit about filming, because this is something that a lot of people don't think about. They just want to get in and start creating content, but really we need to start thinking from the planning stages. So before you get in and start filming, you need to have an idea of what you're going to film. Now this could be a script, bullet points, something simple just so you know. The biggest mistake that a lot of people make when they're creating video content is they go in and they just start talking. They don't think about what they're going to say. It's all off the cuff. And they're like, I want to hit a time amount, or I want to hit a certain amount of content, and then I'm going to stop talking. But then you miss a lot of what you are going to say, you ramble on, and you don't really have a clear beginning, middle, and end to your piece. And this is something that you always want to think about. You can't just jump in and create content. The next thing we want to think about is where we're filming. Are we filming at home? Are we filming outside? Are we filming in a location? With that, you're going to want to think about what happens in those locations. Does the light change? Does the audio change? Do you have a noisy roommate who's going to be talking in the background and you can pick it up over the microphone? Think about these things as well before you start filming. So now we know we have a script and we know where we're going to film. We want to make sure our equipment is set up properly. Now, I'm not saying that you have to go out and buy the latest and greatest, but it's always handy to have a microphone that you're recording with and a good lighting source. For microphones, I just use a Blue Yeti, but there are a lot of great microphones from lapel, or some people say lavalier microphones, to microphones like this that you can use, to microphones that you can use with your phone. As for lighting, people always ask me, hey Willie, what are you using for your lighting setup? It's very simple. I have a $5 ring light, I have a lamp bouncing off the wall and giving me some reflected light, and I have a couple of RGB bulbs in the back in simple lamps that I picked up from Goodwill. My entire setup is probably around $50, not very expensive, and you can do this too if you just think about it. If you don't have access to lights, or you don't have the ability to purchase new equipment, you can take advantage of natural light. Now, when you're doing it, be careful that the light source is not right behind your head, because this can give you a halo effect. Additionally, be sure that the light is not bright in your face where you have your eyes closed trying to film yourself. A lot of times when I'm using natural light, I try to film off to one side. Another thing to be considerate about with using natural light is a lot of people say, well, I'll go and film outside. The problem that you run into filming outside is wind noise. If you don't have a good microphone setup, you'll pick up a lot of wind noise, and this is very hard to recover from. So now we know we have a script, we have an idea of where we're filming, we have our equipment set up. The last thing we want to do before we get started is to collect materials. What I typically do is I'll go and choose stock images, stock videos, and audio to use in my piece before I start. For the images, I use Adobe Stock. Here at UTSA, we have full access to Adobe Stock images that you can use in your piece. For video, Adobe Stock does require you to pay, so what I usually suggest is using Pexels. It's a really great website that you can go on and get stock images from. For audio, I typically use the YouTube audio library. Now, to access this, you will need a YouTube account, but once you have a YouTube account, you can go into YouTube Studio and then select Audio Library to download your audio tracks. Once you have everything collected, we're going to take all of that material and we're going to put it into one folder. And this is very important because Premiere Pro likes working from a single folder. We put all of our content into one folder, and then when we jump into Premiere Pro, we'll be able to easily access it and edit it. Here you can see the folder that I created. I shot footage with my phone. I have some stock photos here. I have a little bit of stock video, an image of Rowdy, as well as an audio track that I've gotten from the YouTube audio library. Again, they're all in the same folder, and it'll be easy for me to access and edit inside of Premiere Pro. Here we are in Premiere Pro. Typically you'll start on the Home tab over here, but I always tell people to start on the Learn tab. That way, if you want to go beyond what's talked about in this demo, you can always learn using these tools. To get started today, I'm going to go to New Project. I have already set this to my Premiere Demo folder, but if not, I could click on the folder and choose where I'm going. So for example, if I'm on the desktop, I can double click on my Premiere Demo folder to get to it. If you single click, it will try to import the entire folder, and that's probably not what you want to do. Here I can give it a name, and I'm going to call this demo. There's a project location, so I can choose where this is saving. If I hit this drop down, I can go to choose location and select what folder I would like it to fall into. So I'm going to go to Desktop, Premiere Demo, and select folder. Over here at the side, I can give it a name for my sequence, and I'm just going to call this demo. You can choose a name that works for you. And I'm going to start by importing footage of myself. Now you can import all of your bits and pieces, but I like to import one part at a time. It just helps me think through things and get my editing done. I'm going to select Create. This imports my footage, and here you can see that I have my footage that has been brought in. This is the timeline right here. This is the program, what I actually see, and we see a variety of different windows along the sides. Now, with these windows, if there's any window I'm showing you during this demo that you don't see, you can always come up here to Window and select that window from this panel up here. So if there's anything that isn't there as you're creating, you can always select it and open it. Another thing to take note of here with this footage, I did shoot this with a cell phone, but notice how this is in the landscape orientation, not the portrait orientation. Portrait orientation is great for things like TikTok or Instagram, but when we're making more professional footage, we should use the landscape orientation. I use this for all the content that I create for YouTube. Now, you can create YouTube Shorts as well, but I would suggest to create content in the landscape orientation and then edit that to be in the portrait orientation. The first thing we're going to do is edit the color of the piece. I shot this footage without any of my lighting setup that I currently have, and you can see that everything looks a little bit drab. I used a window for natural light, and then I have a lamp behind me to help light up the background. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to Lumetri Color and use some of my settings. Again, if you don't see this window, you can go up to Window and then select Lumetri Color. The first thing I'm going to do is go into Basic Corrections. And if you've ever edited a photo on your phone, this should look very familiar. It uses similar sliders, and you can go in here. For me, for example, I'm very pale, so I'm going to use the temperature to warm myself up a little bit. I'm going to bring up the contrast. I'm going to bring up the highlights. I'm going to darken down the shadows a little bit. Bring up the whites just a hair, and darken down the blacks. What I'm trying to do is give space, so we see a highlight, a mid-tone, and a shadow to create depth in the video. The other thing I'm going to do, and something that I'd love to do to all my videos where I'm talking, is come down here to Vignette. Vignette allows me to add a darker area around the edges to put more focus on me. Now, if you want to see what this looks like without these effects, if you want to see original footage just for comparison, there's a little FX tab right here. And if I click on that, it will restore it to the original version. And you can see the difference that just a few edits make in making your video look more professional. The next thing I want to do is make it sound more professional. So I'm going to do a simple effect now. There's an effects window that I have right here. If you do not see this window, again, you can come up here to Window and select Effects. Sometimes this window will pop up down in this corner, so if it pops up in a different area, don't be surprised. Just look for that effects panel. What I'm going to select in here is noise. I'm going to type in noise. And I'm going to choose denoise. When I choose this, I can click and drag this onto my footage, and then that will remove some of the background noise. Now, this is not going to recover something like a very damaged audio piece where you recorded it outside and you had a lot of wind noise, but if you have something with a little bit of background noise, this will help restore that audio. The other thing that I'm going to do is come over here to Essential Sound. And again, you can always go to Window and Essential Sound if you don't see it. I'm going to choose Dialogue because that's what it is, it's me talking. And then in here, I'm going to go to Vocal Enhancer Low Tone. I'm trying to make my voice sound a little bit deeper. Now with this, it will depend on your voice and the sound you're going for and how you use this. Next up, I want to start editing. And there are many different ways that I can edit in Premiere Pro, but I'm going to focus on two today. The first is a traditional form of editing. I'm going to zoom in on my piece using this little circle down here. And in here, I made a lot of mistakes. This is something that you'll do as well. As you're talking, if you make a mistake, try to say your line over again. Don't just make a mistake and continue on. To give you an example, let's bring the playhead over here to when I start talking and take a listen to me. Remember, I'm a professional, I make videos every day, and this is what I sound like. In this video, we're going to take a brief look at Photoshop. And in this video, we're going to take a brief overview. In this video, we'll have a brief overview of Adobe Photoshop. We'll take a look at how you can use it in the classroom. Thank you. Got it. In this video, we're going to have a brief overview of Adobe Photoshop. We're going to learn a little bit about its history and what you can do with it and why you should use it in the classroom. All right, so it took me over a minute to get one line out properly. And this is going to happen to you. You're going to have parts where you stumble over your words and you have to try and try and try again. But the great thing is we can edit out all those mistakes and make ourselves sound more professional. So what I'm going to do is use the razor tool. I'm going to put a razor right here in front of that good take and right after that good take. If I use my selection tool, click on that bit that I don't like at the beginning, push the delete key on my keyboard. I'm going to drag that footage over. This little blue guy is called the playhead. I'm going to bring him over, hit play. In this video, we're going to have a brief overview of Adobe Photoshop. We're going to learn a little bit about its history and what you can do with it and why you should use it in the classroom. I sound professional. I sound like I know what I'm talking about. And that's why we want to go through and do multiple takes, because we can take out all of those little problems and all of those little issues. Now, I'm going to undo. Whenever you make a mistake in here, you can also undo using Control-Z or Command-Z if you're on a Mac. And I want to show you another way of editing. The way I showed you is kind of the older style, and there's a newer way that you can edit inside Premiere Pro. And it's been something that I have really been leveraging as I create content for YouTube and other platforms. To do so, I'm going to go up here to Window and then select Text. This will generate text for my piece. Now here you can see that it generated in the wrong language, but I can fix that. If you ever have this problem, all you have to do is select the breadcrumbs up here, select Generate Static Transcript. You can choose your language, which will be English. I'm not going to separate the speakers, and I'm going to say Audio Mix Transcribe. More than likely you won't have to do this step, but I want to show it to you in case you ever run into this problem. It should automatically go to your preferred language, but now and then I do see this issue. Now that it's transcribed, we need to go to the three dots again, and I'm going to select Generate Text-Based Editing Transcript. It will give me a warning. I'll select Continue, and then it will process it. Again, by default, you should be able to use the transcript automatically, but if you do run into this problem, here's your fix. Now we can see the transcript in English. What I'm going to do is edit out all my mistakes. So all these mistakes I know. In this video, we're going to take a look at Adobe Photoshop, what it does and why you should use it in the classroom. There's my good take right there. I can select all of that footage, and then I'm going to simply select backspace on my keyboard. That has removed it. And if I hit play, in this video, we're going to take a look at Adobe Photoshop, what it does, and why you should use it in the classroom. All right, very easy. Now I'm going to go and take some of this content out and choose just a little bit of it. So I'm going to start from here. I'm going to delete this line out because I decided I don't want it. Hit the backspace key again. I'll scroll my playhead over just to see how that transitions. I'm going to push play. Why you should use it in the classroom. Photoshop has become one of the most common requirements on job applications, so it's incredibly Photoshop. I made a mistake there, that's okay. Again, I can just highlight that, push the backspace key, Let's try that one more time. Scrub back with our playhead, hit play. And why you should use it in the classroom. Photoshop is... It left the in there. Sometimes we have little mistakes, but because we know those other editing techniques, watch this, I can zoom in and I could use the razor tool to cut out that mistake, or I could simply grab from the edge, drag it over, pull this right over, scrub my playhead back, hit play. Why you should use it in the classroom. Photoshop has become one of the most common... There we can see that that transition is fixed and everything is good to go. Let's do one more edit. I'm not going to do this entire video, but I want to go over this one more time. And I'm going to do this part here where it says, the great thing about Photoshop is easy to learn, but difficult to master. And I can see here that I made a mistake. And the great thing about Photoshop, and these little dots represent pauses. Now, this is what I do a lot of times to help myself see where I might make a little mistake. I will leave a pause in there to make it easier to edit. So I'm going to select that, push that backspace key, and I can see if I look down here in my audio, there's a pause there as well, which is represented with these little dots here. So I'm going to hit my backspace key on that, scrub my playhead back, hit play. Really important for students to know how to use this tool. The great thing about Photoshop is that it's easy. There are my mistakes gone. Now I'm going to use my razor tool one last time just to cut this off. And again, for sake of demo, I'm just using these 3 clips instead of doing the whole thing. I can close out my text panel now, select the clips that I don't need, push delete. So now I have 3 clips that I'm going to work from. The first thing I'm going to do is try to cover up these transitions here. Now you can see it jumping from scene to scene. It's not perfect, and I want to hide that. In traditional film, a lot of times what is done is someone will use multiple cameras and they can jump from one camera to another camera to hide mistakes. Well, most of us don't have that option. And this goes back to those photos that I was talking about earlier. I'm going to use photos to help cover up my mistakes. I'm going to come up here to File and select Import. I'm going to go to my desktop folder that has my demo in it. And I know I was talking about a classroom, so I'm going to select this photo of the classroom and choose Open. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this photo of this classroom onto V2. And what that does is it puts that photo on top of my video. So if I hit play, you should use it in the classroom. You can see the photo and hear me talking, but it hides the video. Now there's a few things I want to do. This photo is large, so if I click on this photo here and come up here into Effects Control, again, if you don't see that, it's just Window, and then Effects Controls, I can adjust the scale of this photo to shrink it down to fit better into the page. The other thing I'm going to do is listen for when I say classroom. I want this photo to play when I say classroom. And you should use it in the classroom. Okay, so I say classroom right about here. So I can grab the edge of this and drag it over. And I want this to end right about when I start talking in this next clip. So now if I scrub my playhead over, let's take a listen how this sounds together. And why you should use it in the classroom. Photoshop has become one of the most common... You can see here that it covers up that mistake and makes it look a little bit more effective. What if we use video? This is another option. I'm going to go to File, Import. This time I'm going to select a video clip that I downloaded from Pexels, drag that in just like I did before, and place it right about here. Then I'm going to hit play. Requests on job applications. So it's incredibly important for students to know how to use this tool. The great thing about Photoshop is that it's... So here we can see that there's footage playing. Again, this footage might be a little large, so I can click on it. I can adjust the scale so it's zoomed out. And then I can start to think about editing this to the time that makes sense for my video. So if I drag this over, maybe I don't need this whole video clip. Let's try to hit play again. Incredibly important for students to know how to use this tool. The great thing about Photoshop is that it's easy. You can see that works pretty well. I would adjust that timing just a little bit more, but that gives us a good start to our piece. All right, so let's take a look at another way we can use this same footage. One of the really great features about using layers, if I drag this in, I can bring it over here and that footage pops up again. Well, let's say we want to have more of like a news broadcast picture-in-picture effect. I can select the footage. It's highlighted, it's got a white area around it. I can do the same scale trick, but I'm gonna drag it down even further this time. And then I can come to position and move the position of the footage, so now that footage will play in the background as I talk. Difficult to master. I've been using Photoshop now for... It's a really handy way to add content. You can do this with photos, images, or anything else. All right, the next thing we want to do is add in some titling, add in a little bit of text. And with that, we're going to go over here to Essential Graphics. The Essential Graphics panel is where you can add in all kinds of different titles. And if you want to search specifically for titles, there's a search box here. And I'm going to type in title. Now remember, if you're not seeing this Essential Graphics panel, just Window, and then Essential Graphics. We have a bunch of different titles here that we can go through, some with backgrounds and some without backgrounds. Because I don't have a background that I have going on right now, I'm going to choose a simple one right here and drag that into my piece. If I drag that onto V3 and let it go, it will go in. If I scrub my playhead back and hit play. In this video, we're going to take a look at Adobe Photoshop. So I could go into this, select it, where it says insert title here, I can double click on this and say Adobe Photoshop. So now if I scrub my playhead back and hit play. In this video, we're going to take a look at Adobe Photoshop, what it does, and why you should use it in the classroom. So that's one way of doing it. I could put it over myself talking. What if I want this to stand alone? Well, I can select all my footage and drag it over, and then scrub back, hit play. In this video, we're going to take a look, and we can see that that footage is now before I start talking. So if you want to have a title before you start talking, this is how you would do it. One thing to take note of with this transition, it actually goes to black. It feels a little bit strange there because I'm popping up in the middle of it. I can click on this piece of footage, grab the edge, drag it over just a little bit, hit play. In this video, we're going to take a look at Adobe, and it hides up that transition. But now we have a different issue. Notice when I hit play, there's no audio here and it feels awkward. Well, let's add in some background audio. I'm going to go to File, Import. I'm going to select my audio track that I downloaded from the YouTube audio library and select Open. I'm going to drag that into my piece and let go. Now when I push play, in this video we're going to take a look at it. It's playing audio, but my voice is getting lost. So let's adjust this audio. I'm going to select my audio track here. I'm going to go back to Essential Sound that we talked about earlier. And I want to tag this audio track as music. So what I'm going to do is, now that it's tagged as music, I'm going to do a couple things. I noticed that was a little loud, so I'm going to turn that clip volume down just a bit. And then I'm also going to select ducking. By default, this will duck against dialogue. And I'm going to have this duck just a little bit quieter. I'm going to have it duck to about 30 here. Now with this, there's no hard and fast rule, but I just know about -30 decibels should work pretty well for a good audio duck. And then if I hit play, nothing happened right now. What I have to do first is select Generate Keyframes. So just to show you an example, if I hit play, Adobe Photoshop, it's still loud. If I hit Generate Keyframes, hit play, what it does and why you can hear that's now quieter. So if we scrub our playhead back, hit play, let's take a listen. In this video, we're going to take a look at Adobe Photoshop. That ducking will bring the audio down. Now the other thing is, if you have a point where you stop talking, let's listen to what happens. Something new every day. It brings that audio back up again. So this is a really handy trick that you can use as you're adjusting your audio. Now this audio track is very long, but let's imagine it's too short. I'm going to zoom out and use the same bar that I used to zoom in. I'm just grabbing this little circle. If I drag right, it zooms out. drag left, it zooms in. And let's imagine that my video is still going out here somewhere. This is a really great trick you can use to match up your audio. If we come to the third tool down, click and hold, select Remix tool, and then click and drag the edge of our audio, it will actually remix the audio and loop it so we can expand it for our piece. This is a really handy trick that you can use to make your piece a little bit longer if you need some longer audio. Let's imagine our video piece is finished. The first thing we need to do is save our file, and that is File, Save. The important thing to remember about File Save is that it's saving our Premiere Pro project. Our Premiere Pro project is great for us to edit and make changes and modifications, but it's not a file for other people to view. If we try to send the Premiere Pro project file to other people, they will not be able to view it. We will not be able to upload it to YouTube or use it in other places. To use it in different places, what we'll need to do is go to File, Export Media. Control M or Command M is the shortcut on that. Now, there is one other way of doing this, which is to simply click on Export up here at the top. With this, I can give it a name. I'm going to leave it as Demo. I can choose the location where this will save, and I'm going to choose my desktop folder where I'm working. Select Save. Preset. What I'm going to do in Preset here is I'm going to go to High Quality HD 1080p. That way we know it's going to be a high quality video. The format here should be at H.264 by default. Don't change that. That's a really great format for uploading to online services. There are a lot of other video rendering options here that I'm going to leave as is. When I'm happy with everything, I'm going to select the Export tab down here at the bottom, and that will export an MP4 that I can share with others or put on the internet. Now, that was a lot of content in a short amount of time, so if you have any questions, feel free to reach out and I'll be more than happy to help you on your Adobe journey. Good luck, and I'll see you next time.